Hello everyone and welcome to the first round of Season 2 of the FRS Dirt Rally 2 Championship. First round is in Poland with 9 stages for the drivers to get through, and it's looking to be a challenging one. Stage 1 is in Leno, I think that's how you pronounce that, in Lechna County. Here's how they got on. Looking to build on his third place finish in the final championship standings for Season 1, Ettore set the early pace in Stage 1 ahead of the German pair of Fraser and Dante. The 3 drivers were separated by just 3.3 seconds at the end of Stage 1. Defending champion Cookie made a mistake on his run, and the Polish driver found himself 25 seconds off the pace, with plenty of work to do to catch up to the leaders. As you'd expect, it didn't take long for the shambles to arrive. Both Madster and Hummersep fell victim to the same tree about 2 minutes into Stage 1, ending both of their rallies in the process.
Shit.
And if you thought that was bad, spare a thought for poor old Dan, who received a Windows update message in the middle of his first run. The car wasn't terminally damaged, which meant that he could continue, but he got the maximum time of 15 minutes for Stage 1. Just 5.5 seconds covered the top 5 at the end of the Leno stage, with the Americans Rixey 137 and Booth in 4th and 5th respectively. On to Stage 2 then, and the fast-looking Borisic stage. Yes, I know that says 1, it'll always say 1. 5.75 miles for this one, and it was Fraser who set the pace, clocking a time of 4 minutes and 6 seconds for this one, which was near enough 5 seconds ahead of anybody else in the field. Despite the high-speed nature of this stage and the closeness of the trees, most of the drivers navigated this one without too much hassle. 1 or 2 still carrying some damage from Stage 1, lost a little bit more time, and Issa was the only driver to retire from the rally in this stage. So behind Fraser, it was Cookie who finished second, just 4.6 seconds behind, clawing back a lot of the deficit he'd lost in Stage 1. Rixey 137 and Ettore were still right up and amongst it in the sharp end as well. On to Stage 3, Josephine, and the first night stage of this rally. This one proving to be much trickier than the ones that had come before, not surprisingly really. And amongst those at the front, it was Booth who was the big loser here. Damage to his headlights left him stumbling around in the dark and losing 53 seconds to the leaders by the end of the stage. Of the front runners, Fraser, Ettore and Rixey 137 were separated by around 15 seconds by the end of Stage 3, but all continued to go strongly. Timolele lost a little bit of time and dropped back slightly. And there was a best run yet for Penachiro, finishing P3 in this one, just 11.2 seconds back from the outright pace set by Rixey 137. Ettore and Jabba rounded out the rest of the top 5 for Stage 3, and the 9.6 second advantage that Rixey had over Fraser meant that just 0.2 of a second separated the pair after a third of this rally. Ettore still in touch in 3rd place, and Timolele and Jabba 4th and 5th respectively as we move on to Stage 4. The big news at the first service point was the retirement of defending champion Cookie from the rally. Terminal damage on his Stage 3 run meant that it was all to play for amongst those at the front, and Rixey 137 again laid down the gauntlet in Stage 4, going fastest of all by 3.3 seconds from Timolele. The recovering Dan, remember from the Windows update issue in Stage 1, really putting in a great time in this stage, just 4.8 seconds off the pace as he aimed to recover, but still a full 13.5 minutes off the overall time needed to be right up at the front of this rally. It wasn't all plain sailing though, with plenty of drivers having problems with their call notes.
Keep right of a jump, a tree, and keep left of a big jump, 30. Keep right of a crest, into 5 left.
You said keep left. This is too far left.
To caution.
Rixie 137 won stage 4 to increase his lead at the head of the rally, ahead of Timolele and Dan, with Ettore and Jabba 4th and 5th. And with Fraser not even in the top 5, that gap at the front extended to 11.7 seconds, with Ettore just hanging on in 3rd as we went into stage 5, where the heavens had opened, and that made conditions very, very difficult indeed for the 4.1 mile run of Charlie Lass. 85.3 feet of elevation change. It's back the way we came the last time, and those treacherous conditions catching out more than one driver on this stage. It was a case of steady as she goes for Van on base, who was ticking along quite nicely in the midfield, keeping out of trouble, dragging the Mitsubishi Space Star to P9 in stage 5 and continued to go along okay. One man who was right on the pace was Ettore, who was on the edge in his Citroën C3, as we can see from this onboard shot.
Don't cut. 40, gravel, 5 right over crest, extra long. Open 6 of a jump long. Into caution 40, 3 left of a crest.
There was very little to separate Fraser and Ettore at the end of stage 5, but with Rixie 137 down in 5th place only, the to and fro battle between the top two continued apace, Fraser resuming the lead from his American rival, but Ettore keeping in touch and edging ever closer as we went into the most feared stage of all, stage 6, and it was dark, gloomy and very, very wet for this one. 4.37 miles of hell awaited the drivers here. Very, very little grip anyway. Timolele, who's been there or thereabouts for most of the rally, managed the treacherous conditions well on his way to P2 in stage 6. Plenty of drivers, though, experiencing an abundance of problems. Absolute shambles here for Pretend Soda, whose windscreen wipers switched off halfway through the run. As you can see from the replay, visibility was, what, a couple of yards at best? So, until he found the button to turn them back on again, he was pretty much going blind. No problems at all, though, for Rixie 137, who continued serenely on his way to another fastest stage time, increasing his advantage over everybody else in the field. A very confident performance from the Peugeot driver. Elsewhere, there were some drivers still having problems with their pace
Into
notes.
6 right, into caution 5 left of a jump, 50. 6 left, very
Oh, there was a
tight
left over the jump. Of course there was a left over the jump. Rixie eked out another 4.1 seconds over his rival Fraser as he took another stage victory here in stage 6. Dan was in 4th and Penichero 5th. And that leaves the total standings looking like this. 2.9 seconds now between the front two as it flips around again just before the final service area. Stage 7 is the longest one in the whole rally at 10.2 miles. Plenty of room for mistakes here, and none more so than this from Sienna Bob, whose rally ended in fairly unceremonious circumstances, upside down into a tree midway through stage 7. And, well, from his point of view, at least he didn't do it in front of some fans or anything, eh? To nobody's surprise, Fraser was right up among the front runners again in stage 7, but didn't manage to set the fastest time, only P3, and slower again than Rixie 137, meaning that he lost another 8.4 seconds to his rival. Another driver with work to do was Ettore, who'd picked up a lot of damage in stage 6, and in an attempt to make amends in stage 7, was using all of the road and more. Had a fairly disastrous stage 7, finishing down in P13 and losing well over a minute on the competition. Someone having a better time was Booth, who was recovering lost time from earlier in the rally. He managed to bring the Skoda home in P5 in this one, just 11.3 seconds off the outright pace set by Rixie 137, and that helped to move him back up into the top 5 in the rally overall. A lot of drivers towards the bottom of the standings lost even more time on this one, and for many, it was now a case of just trying to limp to the end of the rally. Dan was the only other driver to break the 8-minute barrier in stage 7, which proves that he'll be one to watch when we get on to round 2. Rixie 137 extending his advantage to 11.3 seconds over Fraser, Timalele, Jabba and Booth fighting over the final podium place. Move on to stage 8, which was the penultimate stage of the rally and a night stage to boot. Dry conditions at least, but another challenging one for the drivers. And this spectacular moment for False 12, one of the real highlights of the stage. Full on James Bonding it on 2 wheels. Managing to keep going though, so I assume he meant it. Jam's Truth is one of those drivers who was generally between 6th and 10th in any given stage, which is why we've not heard a lot from him, but he came good in stage 8 with a time good enough for P5 in the Volkswagen Polo, and that moved him up to P7 overall. Going into the final stage, he'd be one of those drivers hoping for mistakes from those ahead of him, as would Ettore, who was back on it in stage 8 despite the damage to his Citroën. P2 in the stage within a second of the winning time that was again Rixie 137, but a great recovery drive nonetheless. 8 drivers had retired by the end of stage 8, which meant that we had 20 making it through to the final stage of the Rally of Poland. Obviously lots of cars still in pretty bad shape, but a lot of drivers happy to be making it through their first rally in one piece. Booth was only 1.3 seconds shy of the pace set by Rixie and Ettore, with Fraser in 4th and Jam's Truth 5th. In terms of the overall times, Fraser now 16.1 seconds behind Rixie, which meant that going into stage 9 he was going to have to leave it all on the table. Stage 9 then, and the final run to the finish. This one the reverse of stage 2, which they all negotiated quite well earlier on. But the stakes have been raised because this one is the power stage. Stage 9 of each rally, additional championship points available to the top 3 to encourage them to give it all on the final run to the flag. And that is exactly what they did. A huge smash here for Jabba, taking him right out of contention. Fraser, of course, with 16 seconds to make up, leaving it all on the table in this final stage. Was going well for him, was right on the pace when this happened.
6 left long, Titans keep middle over 150. 6.
You're fine. Keep going.
A double barrel roll managed to keep the car going, but as he continued to try and make up that lost time, more incidents further in the stage.
And 6 left, opens.
Oh no! Mate, stop! You gotta stop it, really. Just finish.
A double rear puncture on that one. Got lucky the first time around, didn't get so lucky the second time of asking. And that left Rixie 137 clear to complete this stage without incident, and if he could do that, he would be the winner of the Rally of Poland. Of course, with the power stage points in play, he'd be keen to get as quick a time as he possibly could, but without going too far over the limit. And when it came to the final standings, Rixie over in 2nd place in stage 9 and confirming that he will win the Rally of Poland. Ettore winning the power stage with a time of 4 minutes 11.8. Booth picking up 3rd place and more championship points in that regard. So here is your final classification at the end of the Rally of Poland, round 1 of season 2, and Rixie 137 winning by 1 minute and 22 in the end. Fraser did hang on to P2 from Timalele just despite all that damage. Booth was 4th, Ettore 5th, Jam's Truth, Jabba, Penachero, Van on Base and False 12 making up the top 10. Behind that, Haringzord was 11th with Garley, Lightbot, Dante and Stashes and Gashes in the top 15. Brad's Pit was 16th, Pretend Soda 17th. Hercules, with a lot of damage on his car, crawled home in 18th place. Dan managed to recover to 19th despite having full 15 minutes for the first stage and Popsicle was 20th. The retired drivers: Sienna Bob, AWD Turbo Guy, Black and Gold 56, Hugh Sam, Cookie, Issa, Madster, and Hummerset. That means after round 1, the championship standings look like this. It's no real surprise to see Rick C 137 at the top. His 100 stage points combined with his second place in the power stage to give him 115, and a 30-point lead over Ettore, who, by virtue of winning that power stage, pops up into second in the championship despite only finishing 5th in the rally. Fraser is 3rd, Booth 4th, Timalele 5th, and then it's As You Were beneath that. Jams, Truth, Jabber, Penichero, Van on Base, and Boss 12 making up the top 10. So the championship will move on to Argentina next, the terrifying prospect of Argentina, which should see plenty of broken cars. If you want to follow along with the championship as it progresses, feel free to follow the channel and feel free to check out my Twitch channel as well, twitch.tv/Haringzod. You can as well follow the FRS social channels, which are all displayed for you on the screen now, including the twitch.tv/FR series channel, where primarily you'll find a lot of Formula 1 2021 content coming your way. Other than that, until the next round in Argentina, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you soon.